Hi, everyone, and welcome to the TRAX channel. Today, I am here with Blake Tablak, CEO of TRAX Technologies. Hi, Blake. How are you?
I am wonderful, thank you. How are you?
Good, good. Summer, always fun. Kids, things, work.
That's it. The kids are home all
Yeah.
summer. The daycare, it's great. Yeah.
I'm like, when is school going back? When is school supply shop?
But,
Okay, so this is happening. And then you get a little panicked because all of the pieces that have to go into.
oh yeah. Oh yeah. All the things you have to do to get ready for school. Everybody's like, oh man, it's coming too quick.
I know, I know.
Of course, then they go back to school and you go, I kind of miss them. So,
I know. The simplicity of summer is kind of nice too.
it
Yeah.
is nice. Yeah.
So today we're talking about future proofing supply chains with AI enablement. So recently, you were at the American Supply Chain event, and the theme there was future proofing supply chain. What does that actually mean in practice beyond that buzzword?
Yeah. So I wouldn't even call it future proofing. I call it now proofing. In fact, if you're not doing it now, I think you're really far behind. So there's really I think there's two things that AI has brought to the table, even just in the last year, that in terms of acceleration. If you're an executive and you're running a team, yeah, there's process automation. For sure, process automation has become far more effective. You can do far more complex workflows. Yeah, that's great. And if you're in logistics or you're in transport in any way, you're under heavy pressure to reduce costs, and headcount is cost, and that is the truth. That said, it turns out there's more money to be found elsewhere. And this is where I think the bigger asset is the rapid ability to analyze information. And I think that is, as an executive, if you're spending all your time thinking about how do I cut headcount, you're missing out on the actual big dollars that exist. And a good example, if we go look at one of our clients, they do $500 million in freight spend, right? The total number of people supporting that, even if you get rid of half of them, would pale in comparison to looking at service shifts and consolidation and other things, which, by the way, you can analyze in seconds, not days and months, and have to go get a professional and a consultant. And so I think like the two assets. One obviously is process automation. I think that's a great one, and everybody should be looking at it. But I'm going to tell you, the analysis of information and the output, far more powerful, far more important.
So, what's one capability companies need to build now if
Yeah.
they want to stay competitive over the next few years?
Yeah, so your knowledge and understanding about how data works would be number one, and two, how you actually use artificial intelligence as a firm. Your data doesn't need to be perfect, but it needs to be organized, and you need to know where it is. And I talked about this at the American Supply Chain Conference. You, as an executive and as a leader, need to understand the difference between a system of work and a system of record. Okay? And this is huge when it comes to understanding how to use artificial intelligence. A system of work or a system where you are doing things. And what that means is that the information in it is constantly changing. Okay, so go to your CRM sometime and it'll be obvious. Run a pipeline report, run a bookings report, and give it a time. Okay? Run that same report tomorrow, the next day, you get a different result because things happen in that platform. That's called the system of work. If you go into the ERP and you run what were bookings, revenue, expenses, and you run that again on a second day, somebody's committing fraud. Like, that shouldn't change. Okay? So whatever it is in your system of record, that's what it is. The reason executives understand this is that they have to know where information is coming from. So if you want to know the total landed cost of an object, you're not getting that from one place. There are multiple places you have to understand how to get that information and which information do I trust. By the way, you do not go get some big four to come tell you this. You've been around these systems long enough, if you are in this industry for any period of time, to know who has good data and who doesn't. But data is the ability to make a decision as a human being results from your experience, which is data, the data you're looking at, and the remainder is risk, right? So the unknown presents risk. If you have a sort of line chart and you look at it and you go, well, I have a lot of experience and a lot of data, I can make this decision with very low risk. AI is no different. I joke that AI is like talking to a 12-year-old with a PhD in vocabulary. Careful, right? Very sophisticated, but it can be very, very, very intense about a wrong answer. Yeah, I think just knowing where your data is, understanding what a system of work is, understanding what a system of record is, and picking where you want that information to come from and where you want it to reside.
Absolutely. So, where are companies over investing versus under investing when it comes to preparing for the future?
Yeah, number one, I think companies are overweighting toward headcount reduction. I really think they are. Go back and look at Kaizen. Go back and look at all of these things that still exist today. And what you see is quality and throughput. The two most important assets that we have are quality and throughput. If you can increase throughput and you can increase quality, inherently you can reduce cost. But if all you're focused in on is, I want to automate all these workflows, you will. What you will miss is that person isn't doing that anymore, and you may have let them go, but there was an asset that they had, or there was an asset that the function had that actually improved performance, and now that's gone away. And we see this all the time. I'm going to use an agent to get rid of this workflow. Awesome. We actually don't talk about that internally, even with our clients. What we say is we are going, we have agents that are constantly monitoring things in the background, making decisions for you, but it's focused on quality and throughput. Ultimately, a bigger pipeline, a higher quality asset coming through is going to result in lower costs than you're in for sure. But I think people are way overweighting toward headcount reduction. I think once you realize that quality and throughput is way more important, then you will have opportunities for operational efficiency and headcount reduction. But first, it's how do I get the object there better, faster, cheaper, intact, right? Like that's the number one thing we all get paid on. And so I think that's probably where people are overweighted, and I think it's a little bit dangerous.
Yep. How should leaders be thinking about balancing efficiency today versus resilience for tomorrow?
Yeah, that's a good follow-on to what we just talked about, right? Like there's a really good opportunity to take on more as an individual. So with artificial intelligence done, for me personally, I can actually take on more work. I can do more innovation. I individually can do more as a person. That is really different. And I think when you think about resiliency and you think about efficiency, again, quality and throughput become a great measure. So speed, cost, quality, effectiveness, right? And how much more of that can I do? And if I had 10 people today and I was solely focused on, well, if I cut 5 of them, I'm going to save $1 million, great. Awesome. What if those 10 people could do the jobs of 40 people and all this other stuff I couldn't get to before, now I can, and the result of that is a $100 million cost reduction. The result of that is a wildly more efficient supply chain that moves goods from A to B faster. I can generate more revenue and faster because I can make decisions quicker. Like that is every CFO's dream, is to have teams that can operate that way. So I think that, when you start balancing resiliency and efficiency, I think the quality and throughput measure really give you both.
I love that. And I think that if you can answer this next question, you figured it out. So where does AI play the most practical role in future-proofing supply chains right now?
Listen, I think, yeah, so here's what I would say. It depends on who you are, obviously. I'm going to talk for the logistics team because that's largely where we spend a lot of our time in transport. If you're in logistics, you're under pressure to reduce cost, right? But you're more under pressure to deliver on time. What I would do is I would pick 2 or 3 use cases that seem so impossible for you to get your head wrapped around today. Okay, service shift is a hard one, right? You start looking at all these packages you're sending all over the world at different points at different times. Am I using the right service level to get there? It turns out, if you had somebody on your team that take a couple of minutes, you could probably figure this out. On our platform, you literally click a couple buttons and it tells you these services between these zones. Don't bother using them because they get there at the same time as lower cost service. There are things that you can figure out today that achieves the end goal, which is get it there and get it there fast so I can recognize revenue. But I'm going to do it at the lowest cost, the most effective rate possible, right? Those are some simple use cases. Another good one would be, starting to think about your carriers and other carriers. Most of the time, procurement is only limited to that which we can see. Right? I know about these carriers, and so I'm going to bring them into the RFP. Well, there are it's like 15,000 unique carriers in our platform. Right? There's no way all of them. But the question is that data set available? And can I start to now think about it in terms of cost, quality, speed, and efficiency? Great, or effectiveness. Awesome. Who's best at this lane? Who would be best at this layer of delivery? Where do I have single carrier risk? All of that now is really easy to do. And I think, again, when you start thinking about AI, start at the end. What's the goal that I would like to accomplish? Don't start at the beginning of, or at the very end, which is the scoreboard, right? What's the thing I'm trying to accomplish? Not, well, it's going to be really complex and I can't do it because of this, don't worry about that. Start at the end, you will figure out how to get there.
It needs to be like on a coffee mug. Start at the end, and then the rest will
That's
follow. I love it.
exactly it.
So how does Prism AI support the idea of future proofing? What does it enable
Yeah.
that wasn't possible before?
So Prisma, when we first started thinking about what we wanted to do as a company, and this predates me, it was all lanes, all modes, all currencies, all countries legal to operate in, and that was a founding principle of the company. I feel ever grateful to the founders of this firm that they made that decision because it's hard if you don't start there. Okay, so that's great. Now the next question is, and the reason we called the platform Prisma is in a prism, white light comes in, and this great array of color comes out the back end. Think about it as we're ingesting really plain documents like bills of lading and invoices and things like that. But what's coming out the other end is a constant set of adjustments that are possible for you to make. Simple things like, hey, you're using overnight AM and PM between these locations. Stop it. PM gets there at the exact same time. Okay. It's really easy. Somebody else is doing that for you. The platform is doing that for you. Hey, you've got single carrier risk in these lanes. Here's 20 other carriers that do that at better quality and potentially lower cost. You should consider them. Okay, all of these things, Prisma is really designed to give you a different view of the world. I say to most of our executives, don't look at it and go, well, I don't see it. It's not in there. And one of the great parts about Prisma is whatever question you have, the data can be constructed in such a way to give you the answer and then monitor it and look at it. And so it's a very flexible solution from that point. It's also designed to export its information into systems of record. And we are a system of work, and I'm very clear about that when I talk to our executives. Your inventory systems are systems of work. We are a system of work. When you start to combine that information together, you do that in a system of record. And that's where you're starting to keep track of historicals. That's where you're starting to keep track. And this is where real power comes from. Now you have an integrated system, right? And that becomes wildly powerful for people. So Prisma really does two things. One, it gives you the ability to analyze things very quickly, come to outputs very quickly, but also how to move that data from one system to another in a structured fashion. And those are, if you're a large scale enterprise, that's what you're trying to do 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Yeah, absolutely. So the last question is for you, your expert advice, is there anything else you'd like to add? Any new trends, insights, or observations you've picked up recently, especially from events or conversations with industry leaders?
So maybe not picked up recently and specific to this, but I'm old enough that I was around for the mainframe to distributed, of the distributed to SaaS move, and now the SaaS to AI. Okay. One thing is constant whenever there's a ton of disruption. If you are terrified and you hold on to the thing that you thought made you valuable before, you will get clobbered. I remember my father talking to me about, be careful what you ascribe value to when I was a kid, right? And he said, because the things that you're ascribing value to, you will protect, right? Now there's some obvious things. Your family, your faith, you should always ascribe value. But when it comes to work and your output, be careful. Right? Because if before you thought your value was in, I really understand how to make logistics work and move objects from A to B, that's changing. Don't get me wrong, the output still has to remain the same, but as a leader, I would tell you become more comfortable using solutions that involve data, become more comfortable in your data, know what's possible. Don't let that be a gray area because your team may tell you for a long time it's not possible. One of those could be, I don't want to lose my job. Right? They may tell you things that aren't necessarily accurate. And again, they're not trying to hoodwink you. There's a lot of emotion that goes into it. The more you know, the more you can empower your team. Right? The more you know, the more you can actually go do yourself. My grandfather was 67 when he learned how to code. He had been a minister, he had been an accountant, he'd been a CFO, and at 67 years old, his son started a software company and he said, well, I'll learn how to code, and he did. Right? There's no in your life where you can't go learn something new, and this is a pivotal moment where a billions, if not trillions, of value is about to be unlocked. And if you're on the back end of that, it's going to be awful. But if you just embrace it and realize that the value I used to provide for a company is changing, you will become the center of the universe for that company. So it's not something specific, but just I would really encourage people, stretch yourself a little. And start thinking about new and creative ways that you might add value back to your organizations.
Yeah, absolutely. Sound advice. I definitely think continuing education, especially in AI, in any field that you're in, is paramount to your success.
Yeah.
Well, this was such a great conversation, Blake. Thank you for joining me today. And we will make these a regular thing. We can start doing more lives together because I love talking to you and I love your advice. And I think people want to hear what you have to say. So it was great, and have a great week. Thanks for taking.
Thank you so much. Great to see you.